can you please introduce yourself and your nonprofit background?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Amina Mohamed, and I'm the founder and executive director of a Canadian charity called Cameras for Girls.
Awesome. Perfect. And what does Cameras for Girls provide in terms of mission and statement?
We pursue gender equality and women's empowerment specifically, and the alleviation of poverty. So we follow the United Nations SDG goals, number 1, number 5, number 8. And we really are about empowering young women who are in a university-based journalism and communications degree program. We give them a camera to keep. We build a 4-phase program which runs over a year, which encapsulates both a 4-day workshop in person to start this whole thing off, where we teach them how to use their gifted cameras, but then we take it further. We teach them advanced photography skills, storytelling, which surprisingly in some of these degree programs is not included. We work on their English language proficiency. We teach them business skills like how to save, how to build LinkedIn profiles, how to network.
Very cool.
Because even if they're in university or have graduated from university, they face gender-based barriers to employment. And so that's the whole goal of this program.
I love this. What's your favorite part of working in the nonprofit space?
Well, I'm an accidental non-profiteer, if you want to say, but I think it's donor engagement, getting to know people, getting to understand what drives them to donate, or why they support us over another charity, and why they're interested in, supporting charity, which is essential for us to grow and deliver our programs. But if I can build that into a 2-parter, it's seeing our students come alive when they see this opportunity and what it can give to them, and the successes that are coming on the other side, especially in our Uganda program. To date, we've trained 64 young women, 64 cameras handed out, 64 year-long programs, and 74% of them have full-time paid work.
That's amazing.
And they're all male-dominated industries, right? And so not only are we supporting them in our work to get their plans to get work, but we are advocating for more women to be in the media space.
That's fantastic. And I heard someone recently describe people who work in nonprofit as like the bridge between donors and the people you're providing services for, right?
Absolutely.
And what a beautiful idea when you think about it that way, right? Is that there's this bridge in the middle between these two wonderful ideals, people who want to support and people who need support, and nonprofit professionals being that bridge. But that's a big job, right?
It is
putting those two things together. So I love that.
And I'm alone. I have amazing volunteers, but volunteers come and go, right? Life is busy for everybody. So I handle everything from, donor engagement to marketing, to writing appeals, to writing grants, to looking for grants. It's full time on. But I had 2 businesses at once, right? I had Cameras for Girls and I had another business. And last January, I made the difficult decision to close that business down. And I focused 100% of my effort on Cameras for Girls. And I can't tell you the growth we've had in 2023. I'm very proud. And I'm hoping that we can make it even bigger and better in 2024 and beyond, because I have some, lofty, ambitious goals. Some people call me crazy. Some people are in my corner and saying, I can do this. But at any given moment, I think whether you're big or small, there's always that, thing that drives you, that makes you get up and go and not give up, no matter the odds. And there are a ton of odds, especially when it comes to fundraising. It's, excuse my language, a shit show. It's difficult.
Absolutely.
It's hard. And you're competing against all of these established organizations that have been around forever, and donors tend to donate, year after year to the charities they love and know. So when you're trying to compete in that space or get a foothold in that space, it can be challenging. But we had a really good year in 2023 that even surprised the hell out of me. So
that's great. Well, hey, doubling down. And sometimes, that's one of my favorite things about talking to people who are in the social impact spaces. It's a gritty bunch. You kind of got to be a little gritty, right? Especially if you're starting something new that people don't, it's not everywhere. Not everybody understands it. Nobody, at the beginning, I'm sure for yourself, what is going to be the impact of Girls Plus cameras? well, it's a little bit of a question mark, right? But now the proof is out there. And so it must be so exciting to be sharing that impact with your donors.
Yeah, it is. And you know, when our donors can actually see the impact that their dollars are making, that's when the magic happens, right? Because they're not just donating for the sake of donating, they're donating because they realize that impact that we're making on the other side. When, you know, what we raise goes to support our programming and beyond, it just, it's just a beautiful thing.
So on the opposite end, you know, talking successes and, or not successes, but more like what you love, what do you find the most challenging about nonprofit work?
Fundraising, just fundraising in general, right? It takes up all of your time. It's not a guaranteed success metric. It's not, I'm going to put all 5 hours into writing this grant, and at the end of it, I'm going to get it. It's write, you know, 12 grants, get one. But knowing that what the odds are, you still have to get in there, dive deep, and do it. And there's also a steep learning curve in nonprofit. I've had a lot of for-profit self-employment experience, whether it was working in film and television or running my own companies or what have you. So I'm able to use that skill set and bring it into this world. But learning about governance, learning about, you know, how budgeting is very different here than in a for-profit. What do you have to take into account when you're putting a plan together? Who are the partnerships that you have to build with? As a self-employed person, it just might be you, and you can go ahead and do your business and make it work. But when you're in the nonprofit space, in order to grow and scale, and especially when you're doing international work, how do you trust that you're building the right partnership? So it's all of that steep learning curve that's both exciting, but both daunting at the same time, and exhausting, if I can say. Like the burnout rate is totally huge. And, you know, your recent post about how, you know, we're not paid equitable to the for-profit sector. I'm not paid at all. I'm the glorified volunteer. I haven't been paid at all. But I keep doing this work like I am paid, because one day it's not just about being paid. It's about having staff to support me. And we cannot scale and grow and support more young women if we're not treated the same way as a for-profit sector, which spends money on advertising like there's no tomorrow, but we are guilted for spending like a portion of it in the nonprofit sector. So for all you people out there, if you haven't seen Uncharitable, go see this movie, right? Because
so fantastic.
It's all of this and more. But it's true, right? We are made to feel guilty, not just by, you know, society as a whole, but our donors sometimes too. What do you mean you're getting paid? You're not doing this as a volunteer? No, I got food to put on the table. I got rent and mortgage and all that stuff to pay for my child's education. Why should I be different, because I'm doing different work, than somebody in the for-profit?
Absolutely. I mean, that
was my rant. Sorry.
No, that's one of my favorite. I have to stop myself from talking about this 24/7 on LinkedIn because, of course, Evan Wildstein, I don't know if you've connected with. Yeah. Evan and I have a background chat that is every day we are on LinkedIn in the background talking to each other, being like, did you see this post? Did you see this post? Because it's just like consuming my mind in so many ways, because I see and talk to wonderful people like yourself where I'm like, these are people who are truly changing and impacting real lives in the world. It just shouldn't be a concern. Like people should be able to go like, the donor has decided not to devote their life to doing all of the work that does the world changing, but you have to, it's like, how do you expect to give all the money to the mission? Like you can't scale that. You can't get bigger. You can't provide more services. You will always stay forever small if you will not support financially also the people who do the work. Like,
but in the same token, right? Mm-hmm. I will say that the larger organizations should be putting less towards overhead and more towards in-country programming, because I see it in the international space, how much money is not being put where it's needed and how much is put towards, overhead, and yet Canadian government keeps funding them. And I think there's a huge need for oversight and accountability, which is lacking, because then it would be more equitable in the space where small organizations and big organizations can share instead of it being one-sided. That's my rant.
No, and that's always going to be the case too, right? Where there's there's going to be those organizations that are the reason probably why everyone's trust of nonprofit
Well,
work
that's
is
it,
so low.
right? Yeah.
That's good, right? But it's not many of them. It's not all of them, but it doesn't take much to get people to, trust has to be rebuilt.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
it has to be rebuilt. Okay. So how do you think connection and peer support could have a positive impact on your work?
Oh, I think it's for anybody in any sort of work, but especially in the nonprofit space, because it is lonely, it is hard. And when you have peer support and when you have connections, such as what you're building with the Hive, which is so incredible, because I've had amazing, real conversations, not, oh, well, this is what I do. This is what I do. Nice to meet you. Yeah, see you later, right? But more, hey, now we see each other's posts on LinkedIn, or we connect with each other offline and say, hey, how can I support you? Or what else did you need? I was really interested in that. And I think when you're in this space and you're still in that growth mindset and still learning and still trying to make your way, those connections and those, people who somebody connects you to somebody else are so vital. Right. And I think most people have their heart in the right place in this. And those are the people that I want to connect with.
Absolutely.
I'm a big sharer of, hey, I came across this. Could you use this? Could this benefit you? And I think if more people were like that, as a general rule, nonprofit space would be a beautiful space to work in.
Well, I think what's been really fun for me is that seems to be who's attracted to the Hive, right? Like just naturally by selection of some people don't want to talk to a stranger. That's totally fine. This is probably not for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? It's not and then I also think there's just it's also attracting people who are like, I want to talk about my mission. And for some people it's practicing talking about their mission because they actually don't talk about it all that often, maybe based on their role. And they want to share about fundraising. They want to share what's working, or they're looking for like feedback to go, I am struggling here. What successes are you seeing? How are you dealing with these challenges? So it's honestly been so far beyond what I thought the nonprofit Hive might be, is just a general shit talking of the nonprofit space, which is also would have been fine, but it's actually proving to be less that than I had thought. I mean, I think people still talk challenges and sometimes it's complaints, but it's also there's true problem solving happening where people are going, oh, I know of this resource. You should check this out. And there's a lot of like generosity of spirit that seems to be a common theme between the people who are joining.
Well, that's why we're in this work though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we all have that generosity of spirit, right?
Yeah.
We have that innate ability or want to make the world a better place. That's why we're in this work. So if we come together with that as our mindset, my God, what could we make happen in this world?
Absolutely. Just finding a place to gather them all together, right? From everywhere and try it out. That's great. And so what are you most excited to get out of being a member of the nonprofit Hive?
I think it's connections, learning about what other people are doing, how they're doing it, what works for them, where they were, like, how long did it take for them to grow from a small shop like I am to where they are now, tips and strategies. I'm all about learning, right? And sharing. What do they need that I might have or know that I could give? Because I think it's, I'm loving that giving and taking already I'm seeing, or even just the sharing of knowledge and people come in very warm and inviting. Whereas I've been on other things where it's not like that. It was proposed like that, but it's not like that. And it leaves you feeling very, even lonelier, if that makes sense. Right. So no, that's what I love about this. And so whenever I have a chance, I'm like, yep, click that button, book my